It's great to see you, man. You look great.
I feel pretty good. I had this gray put in just because I think it makes me look a little smarter.
Yeah, a little more distinguished, right?
Is it working? I was hoping for smarter, but distinguished is okay, I guess.
I think it's working great, and I love the Raiders shirt. I love it. Big game tonight for the Raiders.
Shell's Angels, baby. Art Shell.
Can you tell me with the Raiders? I got a bunch to talk to you about. Before you came on, I was like, you really are one of the best guests to have, period. But there's a lot going on in your world. Browns, Notre Dame, Raiders, right? And it's always good to talk to you a little bit about Hollywood. But let's start with the Raiders. You, for a while, as a kid growing up to me, kind of embodied and reflected what it was to be a Raider. You know, what was your favorite time or a memorable moment, the most memorable Raider memory you have that you've taken into your later years?
Probably the one I remember the most. And in fact, I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes thinking about it, screaming. And it was my first practice with the Raiders. I've got my silver pants on. I got my black jersey. I got my helmet. And I'm so excited. I'm walking off the field after practice. And Al, as usual, is just standing there and looking around. And I didn't realize nobody was looking at him. And so I just looked over and said, "Hey, Mr. Davis, how you doing?" And he looked at me and he goes, "How am I doing? I ain't won a blankety-blank Super Bowl since '84. How the blank do you think I'm doing?" And at that point, Howie Long kind of put his arm around me and goes, "Don't ever talk to him. He says something first." So that was probably one of the most emotional of all the events.
How was it representing the silver and black? And you've got that Hell's Angel shirt on. It was just a different organization. And it's almost not fair to compare the two today because it's gotten so much different. But that was like, again, you guys were like a biker gang, dude.
You know, it was a we were kind of in the fringe between the Snake and, you know, all the guys that had the mystique. I know that one of the things that Al Davis always talked about with us was mystique. He wanted us to use the word mystique because there was a Raider mystique, and it existed. I mean, it existed for years and decades, and take a look at all the people that have coached there and played there. And, you know, you walked on a football field and you felt like you had the advantage. It was like playing at Notre Dame. When you walk on the field and you see touchdown Jesus with his hands up going, you know, kind of praying over us. And at that point, you know, we kind of figured we can beat anybody because God's on our side. Raiders were kind of the opposite. We didn't know who was on our side, but we had somebody on our side. But it was, you know, it was really kind of a transition, and we were playing pretty tough. And, you know, just the idea, I know there's a lot of camaraderie in sports, especially in the football. Being a Raider had just seemed like it added just a little bit more to it.
When you guys would be working out and practicing, you know, you guys would leave it all on the field in game day. But, you know, there was always, you hear the stories about, you know, just, well, what was it like? Be on time. You know what I mean? Like give 100%, but like off the field, you guys could kind of do whatever you wanted. How was that? Was it policed at all by someone like you or a Howie Long in a locker room, where you had a bunch of guys who I saw as outlaws, and you knew once the sun went down and the game was over, nobody knew where the hell you guys were?
Yeah. I actually, my first year with the Raiders, I actually, some of the guys after, and this may or may not be true, because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but some of the guys were going to go as a preseason game. And so some of the guys were going to slip out after curfew, have a couple beers, shoot the breeze. And I was, hey, Golic, come on. And so I started to go with them, but every time I got nervous, I had to pee. And so I could never go with them because it just, it's always like, I'll be right back. I'll catch up with you guys. It was a little nerve wracking. I did some kind of speaking thing one time with the Snake, and somebody asked him a question about whether all the things about going out after curfew and all the things, the Raider mystique and that, if that was real. And Snake started saying, they build it up. We had this reputation. They kind of made it bigger than it was. And, we didn't really break the rules that much. And as he's talking, I'm looking at him and he kind of looks over at me and goes, and winks. I go, all right. But here's an idea of what people thought about the Raiders. My last year, I got injured for a week or two, and I wasn't playing. And so, of course, everybody goes to the game anyway. We decided while everybody's getting taped and everything, we were going to go and get something to eat. So we went to a sports bar. I think we were down in San Diego. And so we went to a sports bar, and we went in. There's a bunch of us players who weren't playing. And we started eating some wings and having a couple pitchers of beer. People were sending over shots, and some guys, again, may or may not have taken any shots. And so anyway, after an hour of eating and drinking, we get up to go back to the stadium, and one of the tables goes, "Hey, Golic, good luck today. Have a good game." And I'm thinking, does this guy really think that we came here to eat and drink right before the game? I mean, I guess that's what you call mystique.
Yes, and that, to me, honestly, if I was in that restaurant, I would be like, "Look at these guys; they are bad to the bone."
Oh yeah. It was. I figured it was, the way people saw us. It was kind of cool. But I'll never forget that. That was so cool.
How did you? Was it when you were in LA that you started to kind of get that acting bug, or you started to? Because honestly, you were one of the first. I mean, you go back to like Jim Brown, right? Like crossing over into acting, like a superstar, one of the best of all time, gets into acting, like. Even like, dare I say, OJ, like it was starting to happen, and you were at the forefront of that. How did you get the bug, and how'd you have success?
I just liked, I like talking. I mean, I wanted to enjoy the whole experience. And one of the things that after the games were over, sometimes if you lose, a lot of guys don't want to talk to the media, and so I would always basically, unless I totally screwed up something myself, I would usually talk. And somewhere along the way, Howie Long decided to. Somebody was asking about me, and Howie said Bob would talk to a wall if it had a notepad attached to it, and which I never tried, but he might have been right. I don't know, but so I started going. I started doing that mainly. Did some sports things. I got approached by a guy named Richard Crystal. Remember Bill? I don't know. Maybe you don't remember Billy Crystal. Yeah, of course. His brother had a show that was going on and wanted me to do some stuff on. And I said, he goes, and his comment was, he goes, I loved watching the Raiders, and he goes, I always saw you having fun and goofing around and talking on air. And I said, oh, okay. So it wasn't really an attempt to do something like that, but evidently my ability to talk, my openness, was something that some people recognize. And then one thing led to another. And next thing you know, I'm Tiffany Amber Thiessen's love interest.
Yo,
okay, maybe not that, but I still hope.
When Saved by the Bell goes prime time, that was a huge deal, right? And you're a part of that, like coming together. What the hell was that like for you, and to be around that cast who was back together again? Were there any moments? I'm sure there were, but first of all, what was it like?
Well, first off, it was the year after I retired. And so working with a bunch of 19-year-old, well, Screech was 16. And the first day of the week, see, when we played football on Sunday, Monday we went in, lifted, ran, did all that stuff, watched video, and had the coaches yell at us. So everything was physical. When I started doing the show, the one thing I found out is the first day of the week, we sat at a table with the script and we kind of read through it one at a time. And they said, okay, see you guys tomorrow. I'm like, really? It's like 1:00 in the afternoon. What the heck? I still got time to get to the Raiders practice, but they didn't want me anymore. So it was interesting. It was so different than the hitting that I'd done for 14 years in the NFL, high school, college, that whole thing. But it was so different, and the attitude. Plus, I had seen the kids too. I wasn't like a big Saved by the Bell fan, but the kids were. My kids were. And they and so I saw them all the time, and of course,
you couldn't get away from that show. I mean, at that point in time, it was everywhere, even if you weren't up watching it on Saturday morning. There
was a well-renowned sports anchor, sports radio host, and I shan't name him. But he would have me come on Friday mornings after I retired. And when he first said, "Hey, we want to come on and talk to you on Friday mornings." And at first I thought it was just all Raider stuff and football, that kind of thing. And so after when we did the first interview, we talked Raiders, we talked to just NFL. And then he goes, okay, so what's happening with Tiffany this week? And I'm like, what? And he goes, every week he wanted a breakdown on Saved by the Bell and how Tiffany was doing. And so, and this guy had some juice. I mean, he was a bigger name guy, but yeah, every week I came on and I had to give the Saved by the Bell update. So, which was cool. It was nothing like, well, Screech pulled a hammy last week, so he's not performing in some of the more aggressive scenes. It was, and they had to get used to me too. I'm not violent usually off the field, but I can still use what I had before. There was one episode where the girls were in their room, and I heard one of them scream. And I ran, instead of running to the door, opening it, I ran through the RA
door at the college,
mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And I was in the group room, and I heard one of the girls scream, and I ran through the door. They said, just hit the door as hard as you can. And so I ran through the door, ripped it off the hinges, and it flew across the room. And Tiffany was sitting on her bed with the other girls, and they all had to dive for cover because the door literally almost landed on them. So it was, I had to learn to tone things back a little bit.
Who was your favorite member of the cast that you got along with the best?
Probably the best was Mario. Okay. I had a chance to meet him before I even had known that I was going to do Saved by the Bell. And so he was a wrestler, and he knew that I had a wrestling background too. So we had talked at a couple of events. And so, yeah, he just like a really cool guy. And Mark Paul was nice. Screech was Screech. He was
Diamond, right?
He was young. Yeah, Dustin Diamond. He was young. I had just met the two of the new. Well, we had three new girls until after the pilot. They decided to bring Tiffany back in. And when I got a chance to see Tiffany, I was like, "Oh my God, this is the Tiffany."
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Megastar.
even for an old 35-year-old like me.
At 35 ain't old, buddy. If that's old, we're in trouble. All right,
I know.
I want to go into your Notre Dame past because again, you're almost, you were a star, but you almost had this Forrest Gump quality about yourself too. Like you find yourself at Notre Dame at just like an amazing time, like, and you now see the program ascending once again to greatness. Like, what is the line, like the connection that you have to the program today? Is it still really strong? Is it still, because Notre Dame is unto itself just a powerhouse, and everybody's a Notre Dame fan, let alone guys like you who actually went and played there.
Yeah.
Unanimous All-American.
I was going to say, what the hell are you talking about, Forrest Gump? I said, I actually run better than that. When I went to Notre Dame, I think I had gotten an academic scholarship from them, or assistance from them for to go to school. And then I had looked at some of the other schools, Notre Dame being one of them. My dad was just so geeked about the whole Notre Dame thing that I couldn't. It had the academics, it had the athletics, had all that stuff. But we still had. It was still at a time where there was great play. There was great excitement about being Notre Dame. We lived under the belief that when we played somebody, that anybody we played on our schedule was shooting for us, because as some people would say, hey, it's their national championship game. So it was just a great feeling, just to live it. I mean, in fact, I saw Rudy the other day. Looks like he can still play. Okay, maybe not. But we, all these things. I mean, Joe Montana, the time of Joe Montana, the Rudy story. So many great players that came in with us and played. And I feel badly because of what's going on now. I don't see. It's not that I don't see it. I don't see how you can have the same camaraderie and excitement about being Notre Dame if you have a quarterback who's been to 3 other schools in the last 3 years. If you got guys making lots of money, some guys making a lot, some guys making a little, some guys, I guess, some make nothing. But it seems like a lot of us went there because we wanted to play for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And now, we're getting the one thing that always set college aside from pros was that guys were doing it because they loved playing football. I remember USC. Oh, no, excuse me. Yeah. USC came to the campus one time. We're playing us couple nights before the game. Me and Dave Huffman, one of the center, was we were walking back from the library, which, by the way, was a bar. Parents didn't know that till later on, did they? But you see signs. You see the big giant sheets with signs on it, and beat the Trojans, and I mean the whole place just got went crazy, and it was a great time, and like I said, I don't think I'm close enough to it now to know if it's even possible to have that anymore. When you've got when you have somebody who played for 4 different schools in 4 different years. I mean, what do you do?
Point,
what do you do? Yeah. I mean, what do you do your senior year?
Notre Dame so special, right?
Yeah.
Like a different kind of mystique. Was the fact that you guys played on television. Notre Dame was one of the first schools to really be on TV every single week. How do you think that changed you as a player and as a man? Because there was exposure for Bob Golic before there was exposure for other guys. Now, you were so exceptional, right? Unanimous All-American. You played 14 years in the NFL, but people still had access to you more so than they did to guys even at Texas at the time.
Yeah. At the time was really the first time I thought about being on a kid's TV show, but okay, maybe not. I didn't really think about it that much. In fact, I didn't I didn't realize that we were out of the norm until some of the people started giving us crap for being on NBC, the Notre Dame broadcast company. So I didn't realize that. But as far as knowing what it was all about, I mean, for me, when I started as a freshman, I was 17. I was,
wow.
I didn't know what to expect other than the fact that I had to go out there and play against some college that I had watched. And man, these guys are big. And, so the whole exposure thing really wasn't something that I thought too much about at the time.
Yeah. It's so interesting because just growing up, you mentioned I didn't like Notre Dame, but because they were so good. I'm from outside of Philadelphia. Yeah. But but they were so good. It was like they were the team, just like the Raiders. When you play for them, they had the bullseye. Like everybody was going to give Notre Dame their absolute best shot in front of the whole country and world every Saturday. It was so cool. And I totally agree with you. It's hard to envision that kind of camaraderie still maintaining, which is what made it so special. But even as they continue to do well, which I got to give Marcus Freeman some credit, like just like the
absolutely.
way that, I want to ask you a couple more things.
Sure.
And current, you're on the air every day, right? Got to be talking Browns. Yesterday, Shedeur Sanders gets his first opportunity. Help people understand why that small sample size is not who he is, or is it? If you feel differently, but I always think, man, we are such a hyper-focused now generation or mindset. Like the dude played one game a half. It's tough to judge him on that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he'd love to be judged on his first two passes, which were both completions. And then I think he had like 7 or 8 incomplete after that. It's kind of like, it's hard to find a footing. The Browns are having a hard time finding footing. A lot of people talk about the quarterback situation. I mean, Dylan Gabriel so good, and Shedeur Sanders is so good. Obviously, I really believe that one of the reasons he was drafted so far down, I think the media finally or teams finally realized, hey, are we being, I don't want to say being fooled, but we're listening to Dion talk about his kid. And I want to give him a try too. Yeah. A half game isn't gonna do it. I know the confusing thing is that we always send people away and then they do well. We got Baker Mayfield, Flacco goes to Cincinnati and starts tearing it up. But we have these young guys who quarterbacks that we destroyed. Their careers basically year after year after year. So are these guys going to there's always seems to be the search for the quarterback, as most people do. The receivers, a running back. I mean, the Browns, when we had Nick Chubb and was it Kareem Hunt? Yeah. I mean, it was, I didn't want to go out there. Well, okay. If they would have paid me, I would have done it. Hey, I got bills, man. No, so I don't know what they're going to do. I know that the media and the radio stations around the city today are some are saying stay with Dylan, some are saying go with Shedeur, and some are saying you blew it again.
What do you think they should do?
Andrew Berry.
You know more than all those people talking. What do you think they should do?
I think they've got to find somebody like Dylan. To be perfectly honest, I would like to see Dylan stay.
Okay.
Just because I think that this jumping around and being affected by I mean, we got some of the greatest fans in the world here, but they're also, you got to realize that they're also very impatient these days. I mean, we've had like 30 quarterbacks since 1999.
Tim Couch. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's nuts. And so we don't have for one, we haven't had the championship or a real good winning season for quite a while. So people are impatient. Secondly, we know what the prospect of what we've done with quarterbacks has been. And so I don't think people have the patience there either. So we bring in Deshaun Watson. Hey, here's a guy that just really just kicked butt. And next thing you know, he's not. You've got Geno Smith coming in from Seattle, where he rekindles his career, and now he not so much. A little bit problem, and it's a chemistry thing. Is the offensive line, both with the Browns and with the Raiders, is the offensive line consistent enough? Are they making the right calls? How many times is the quarterback getting whacked? And I know it seems like Dylan has a little bit more of an ability to avoid things. Shedeur didn't seem that mobile. Maybe he was trying to stay as a pocket guy, but I think he was mostly a pocket guy when he played in Colorado. I would stay with Dylan right now. And if if he does it, if his head's okay. I guess he got checked for. See, we never got concussions.
How many concussions do you think you had?
I didn't. I had 0. We got our bells rung.
Yeah.
Is what
150 probably.
Oh, I don't know. It's one of those things. I remember we were playing San Francisco in Cleveland, and Montana was obviously the 49er quarterback, and I hadn't talked to him before the game, and I wanted to say, "Hey, what happened, man? I called you. What?" And he said, and he told me that he was getting married again. But 4 plays before the end of the game, I took some friendly fire. And whenever I got concussed or got my bell rung, anything that was white, like white jerseys, had a yellow tint to them. So I knew that something was wrong. And then I would just I would sit there and I would look around and try to remember people's names, which I never really had problems with. It was more visual than just kind of. It's just one of those things where you hope. You hope you're okay. When it starts happening more, though, as your career went on, you start realizing that it's getting worse, and you wonder about what's happening afterwards because you realize at that point you're only 35. But when you're in Cleveland and you walk in, you follow the rest of the players to figure out where the locker room is, and then you walk into the locker room. And you realize, I don't know where my locker is. And luckily I remembered my name. And so I kind of nonchalantly looked across the names. And it was like when I saw Golic, I went, "Oh, mommy." They said I did like 30 minutes of interviews after that, which I have no idea what I talked about. So who knows?
Wow. I mean, what a career. Last question for you. Raiders, Cowboys tonight. The historic impact of these two organizations. I mean, it's just, for me, it doesn't get any more illustrious, really, than the Raiders and the Cowboys. When you look at this matchup, can you give a little bit on the historical significance of it, dating back to when you were a player? I mean, these are just two perennial, I don't want to say powers anymore, but perennial names,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had Staubach and all those guys, and the Cowboys came up the All-American way. It was all about who they were, and they did it the right way. And the Raiders were always obviously the guys that did it the way they wanted to do it. When I was there, I had training camp in Oxnard, which was near the Channel Islands. North of LA. And every morning it was like there was a breeze coming off the ocean that was usually like 55, 60, 65 degrees. And so the first practice was nice. Al lost his mind. And the Cowboys used to practice at Thousand Oaks, which was a hellhole. There was no grass anywhere. It was all dust, and it was hotter than the hinges of Hades. And so anytime Al could do it, he'd go, "We're going to practice against the Cowboys." And it wasn't because we needed practice against the Cowboys. It's just he hated seeing us do 2 hours of practice and not sweat. So, but that, great memories. I mean, so many teams have that. You look back and you start to remember what built them and where they came from. And I just went through. Somebody was talking about old linebackers, and I was thinking, oh my God, Nitschke, Green Bay, and Tommy Nobis, and Mike Curtis, and with the Baltimore Colts, and you realize that they all have this great history. And you can't. The problem is, I guess the only way to hold on to what we is to hold on to the history.
It'll never leave us.
Hold me.
Bob, dude, when I'm talking to you, I really am so laser focused. You're just such I've really looked forward to talking to you, and you're an amazing guy, an amazing guest, an amazing career. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time, man.
It is my pleasure. All right, man. Thanks.
All right, take it easy. Bob Golic, a legend, man. That was pretty awesome. And boy, he's still throwing 100 miles an hour. Looks amazing too. We should all be so lucky. All right, we're going to step aside and come back, talk a little Big 12. I want to tell you guys why the Big 12 is really having a moment. How about I show you? How about that? All right. Thanks to Bob Golic. Thanks to Chris Visser. We are presented by Slovaceks. Thanks to them. And, of course, always thanks to Scotty, just because he's Scotty Swindler, making it happen. We'll be right back after this.